Welcome back to Hannity. We are at CPAC 2016, the road to 2016, of course. And earlier today, I got a chance to catch up with Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker. The unemployment rate went from 7.7% to 5.2%. Then you've got, let's see, property taxes are down from when you started. You've been in office now over 4 years.
Yep.
And I look at other, you were facing a $3.6 billion budget deficit. Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
How does a Republican win in Wisconsin? Because on a presidential level, they haven't won since '84.
You got to go big and you got to go bold. I mean, ironically, I had solid support. In fact, I think more than any Republican in the country, I took a higher percentage of the Republican vote this last go-around, and yet I also carried independents by 12 points. Why? Because they want leaders who are going to spell out what they're going to do and then have the courage to act on it.
What about Republicans when it comes to, you remember when Ted Cruz was literally standing alone, filibustering the funding of health care, got criticized by his Senate colleagues. What was your reaction to that? Was he right? Were the establishment people right?
Well, I think you want to do the two together. I mean, part of the unique thing we bring to the table is we don't just fight. Fighting's a good thing, and I respect people who stand up and fight in principle, but you also got to find a way to win, not just at the ballot box, but win in terms of policies. We've won 3 times in 4 years because we showed that we took the power away from the big government special interests, many of which are based just up the way in our nation's capital, and we put it back in the hands of the hardworking taxpayers. People, I think, believe it's not enough just to fight the good fight. They want you to win.
Every Republican ran on repealing and replacing. The constitutional authority is the power of the purse. That's in the hands of Congress. Should they use it or should they not use it?
Well, I think they absolutely should. And I think now one of the things, particularly now that there's not just the House Republicans, but Senate Republicans, I wrote a memo shortly after the election said, put up or shut up time. It's the same thing I said to my lawmakers 4 years ago when we came in and we went from all Democrat to all Republican. Said, the voters sent us a message. They don't want us to nibble around the edges. They want us to go big and they want us to go bold. Just put up or shut up time.
Then, now that we're faced with another opportunity, and it's Department of Homeland Security funding, and of course the president's, I would argue, unconstitutional, illegal executive order on amnesty. So it seems like Republicans in the Senate are beginning to cave. They're talking about a 6-week extension. Should they just say, no, we are not going to bifurcate this. We're going to keep it together, and we're not going to fund it?
Well, they've pushed on that. 2 important things. One, I joined the federal lawsuit. I was one of the first states to join with now Governor Abbott, then Attorney General Abbott, to push back on, you're right, the illegal overreach, not just that you or I say, but the president himself said it 22 some times. But we also need to make sure we have Homeland Security. I think you got to tie the two together, and instead of playing on defense, you got to play on offense and put the pressure back on the president and his allies.
If you become the president of the United States, you say you're going to tell people what you're going to do and then do it. What are the top 5 agenda items of Governor Walker if he becomes President Walker?
Well, I think it's the three buckets I talked about. Growth, dramatically changing and lowering and simplifying the tax code, both for individuals and for job creators out there, repealing Obamacare, having an all-of-the-above energy policy. All those things are about growth. It's about reform, literally taking major chunks of Washington, putting it out to the states and ultimately to the people, and everything from Medicaid and health care to transportation to even education, where it can go right back to your local school district or your community to take care of your roads or your finances. And then ultimately, I think the biggest thing increasingly I hear from people is they're afraid. They see these videos of the radical Islamic terrorism around the world. They see the beheadings. They see the horrific burnings and other things like that. And they want a leader to stand up and call it out for what it is, instead of a president who not long ago said that, called ISIS the JV team.
A year ago.
Yeah, Yemen was a success. In his mind, Iran is a place to do business in. We need someone who stands and said, no, radical Islamic terrorism needs to be stopped, and we're going to take the fight to them before they bring the fight to us.
Specifically, how do you win that war against ISIS if you want to defeat them? You're not talking about degrading them.
I think you got to take them out entirely. They're like a virus computer that takes over your whole computer. If you don't weed it out, you're going to just be back at it again more and more. It takes a combination of building up force in terms of the United States military, which I think has fallen to woefully low levels here. It means standing up with their allies like Israel. It means working with other allies around the world, but it also means making partners even in the Arab world, where I think Jordan, certainly Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and others have seen, Egypt for sure of late, have seen what's happened, and they want a leader in America to stand. We should ultimately, I've got a number of Marines who work for me. This comes out of the Marine Corps tradition. We should show the world that in America, you have no better friend and no greater enemy.
Let me ask you about one of the big issues that I think will be a very big issue in the campaign is the issue of immigration. The president has his executive order. Should people that entered this country illegally be given a path to citizenship?
There should be no amnesty. You should secure the border, not just for immigration reasons, but why would you put a fence around 3 sides of your home and leave the back door open? That's what we have when we guard our ports, we guard our airports, we don't guard our borders, and not just for immigrants that may come up or people come in, but for people literally coming to do us harm. Got to push back on this executive order, which is why I joined that lawsuit. And beyond that, you got to enforce the law. If we put the onus on employers to give them an E-Verify type system where they have access to enforce the law, I think enforcing the law makes
So your first priority would be to secure the border?
You got it. You cannot, one, because it's a security concern right now because of ISIS and others related to that. But secondly, any of these other things that you can do to fix the broken system, to make the legal system work in America, doesn't work if that opening around your home, in this case the border, is still open.
All right, you ready for a rapid fire round?
Sure.
Gay marriage.
No. Our state passed a constitutional amendment defining marriage as between a man and a woman. I voted for it. I support it in the federal courts and continue to believe it's a good idea.
What about what happened in Colorado, legalizing marijuana?
I think a big mistake.
Bad idea?
Bad idea.
Talk about guns. Should law-abiding citizens, for example, it's very hard to get a carry permit in a state like New York.
Yep.
Should they be allowed to carry weapons if they're law-abiding citizens?
Absolutely. I signed concealed carry. I signed Castle Doctrine. I strongly believe in the legal right for legal citizens to be able to carry and arm themselves.
All right. I'm going to mention a few names. First thoughts that pop into your mind. Hillary Clinton.
Trouble.
Why?
Oh, I just think you look at all around the world, and I see all the troubles we're in. I mean, my goodness, she gave a reset button, both figuratively and literally, to Russia.
For Putin.
You look at places all around the world where her claim is going to be somehow that she's an expert in foreign policy. Look at the hotspots, the Middle East, Venezuela, Russia. Those are places she had a direct hand and advised the president on. It's horrible policy. Now we learn that she was supposedly, I think there's some real questions that need to be asked in terms of the money she and her foundation received that's tied to foreign interests.
Bill Clinton.
Bigger trouble. That one, you think you can answer that for yourself,
no,
right?
It just makes me laugh. President Obama.
Frustrating. I think not just do I disagree with him on policy, but I'm frustrated that I think now more than ever we need strong leadership here in America, not just to make sure that everyone is a part of the recovery, not just one group or another, that we're not pitting Americans against fellow Americans, but increasingly around the world. I mean, as I mentioned Bill Clinton trouble, there are some things he did in foreign policy that I thought were pretty good. I'm really frustrated with this president that he's not standing up to defend our ally in Israel. I mean, what a shame to say to our prime minister of one of our greatest, longest allies that we're trying to discourage people from even going to hear his indictment of what's happening in Iran, the failures around the world. We need strong leadership now more than ever.
And the issue of American exceptionalism is in the news. Why do you think America is exceptional? And what do you love the most about it?
Well, I mentioned in my speech here today when I went to Philadelphia the first time a few years ago to see that these were ordinary people who did something really quite extraordinary. They didn't just risk their political careers or their business ventures. They risked their lives for the freedoms we hold dear today. What has made America all throughout our history has been there men and women like that, all throughout the ages, who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than just about their own political futures. That's what we need now more than ever.